Good morning, fellow awakening light workers. It's good morning for me because we just woke up not a long time ago. We are here doing some camping in Mount Rainier National Park in the US. It's a beautiful place. You can see the big tamale right behind me. So this is my second video. Again, the inspiration hit because this is such a beautiful place. Today I would like to talk about how I got to this point where I am today, spiritually, I mean. It started about 15 years ago, again on a trip. My husband and I went to our very first American trip in 2002. And we were driving around in western United States having a great time. And we happened upon a place called Canyon de Chelly in Arizona. And we were hiking among the canyons, among the beautiful big red rocks. And it was such a wonderful place. And as we were walking down there, this feeling of majesty came over me. And it was such a beautiful place. And we were walking. And there were native Indians living there. It's actually kind of a reservation. And there were goats, dogs, chickens. They were keeping all kinds of animals, growing corn. And we were allowed to walk close to their area. And we were walking there and just standing around, looking at things. And suddenly an Indian started chanting and beating the drums. And I felt like I was rooted to the spot, and it transported me back in time, and I felt that I was here before. This is my home. I lived here before. I know this place, and it was such a profound feeling, and it was so incredibly magical. That was the first time in my life that I actually had this feeling of living more than once. Before that, I used to be a science girl. I never believed in any spiritual stuff. I've never been religious. I never cared about angels and chakras and anything that had to do with any kind of belief systems. Mind you, science can be almost like a belief system sometimes because it has its own dogmas, but that's another story. So anyway, that was my very first spiritual experience. I was there, transported back in time, and then suddenly some other tourists came upon us, and they started loudly talking, and the illusion just shattered, and I felt so disappointed that it was over because it was such an incredible feeling. And so that's how it started. We went home after that, and I started looking up information on the internet about reincarnation. Because I was sure that I was there before, and I started reading more and more about this sort of thing, and I realized that quite a lot of people had this kind of sensation, and there are people who can actually remember past lives, and that was so amazing to me. So this is how I started, past life. And then I was talking to my dad one day, and he just said that he read an interesting book about life after death by Raymond Moody, and I thought that's amazing that my own father is talking about this because he never believed this sort of stuff, and now he's reading these kind of books. So I read his book, and of course, again, that was very interesting. And then as I was looking around on the internet for all kinds of information, I came upon a quote or several quotes from something called The Universe as Idea Construction, and it was channeled information. It came from Seth, channeled by Jane Roberts, and I was reading it, and what I read there was radically different from anything I've been taught in my life, anything I've ever heard of before. And the interesting thing is that as I was reading it and thinking about it, I thought to myself, wait a minute. Sorry, there was an ant crawling on my arm. Wait a minute, I know this. I know this. How do I know this? I had no idea how I knew it, but I knew that information. So it awakened something in me, and again I started a frantic search. I looked up Seth's information, who is Seth and who's channeling him, and I started reading his books, and it opened up a whole new world for me. I had to stop because there were cars coming and I can't talk when there are people around me. I'm not that brave. So we stopped and we moved someplace else. This is still a gorgeous place. I can hear the river running next to me. You can probably hear it too. So I was talking about Seth. I read all his books and I was amazed because it showed me a completely different world from what I knew surrounded me. So that information was radically different from anything I've been taught in school before, and yet it made perfect sense, and I accepted it without any argument. It felt right to me. It felt like I was reading truth, and I don't know why that was, but that's how it was, and I accepted it. After Seth, I started reading Elias, channeled by Mary Ennis. After came Bashar, channeled by Daryl Anka. Then there was Abraham, channeled by Esther Hicks. And my very, very favorite one, Cryon, channeled by Lee Carroll. And I have read from others ever since. And what I realized it while I was studying what they were teaching was that they were all teaching the same thing, and that is no coincidence. It seemed to me that they were teaching to different crowds. Some of them were teaching to the people who come from faith, people who have been brought up with Christianity or Buddhism or any other kind of religion. Others were talking to people who come from science. And so all these channelers, they were all talking to people from all walks of life, from all belief systems, and that was so amazing to me. And it works because this way they reach everyone, and they are all teaching the same thing. So for me, that is a wonderful thing. So I gained a lot of knowledge through them for the last 15 years, and I try to put into practice what I learned. And I will tell in later videos how I did that and what kind of experiences I had. For now, I just wanted to tell you about all the teachers I had, and not just the teachers. I've also been watching videos from other awakening light workers, but most of them, of course, were way ahead of me, so they knew much more than I did, and they were already so comfortable with this whole thing, and they were an inspiration to me, because I thought if they can do this, so can I. And I'm doing it, and it is wonderful and trying at the same time, especially because I'm doing it alone. Although I haven't always done it alone, at the beginning I joined forums where people like me talked to each other and posted links and talked about their experiences. So I gained a lot of knowledge from them. I had companionship, and interestingly, I have outgrown that after a while. I reached a point where I had nothing to say anymore, where I felt like I didn't need any more information anymore. I felt like a bottle that got full. So I stopped reading, I stopped listening, and I thought maybe it is because it is time for me to digest all that I've learned, and it's time for me to start putting things into practice. And I'm going to talk about that in my next video. I wish you all a good day, and just enjoy this beautiful air with me and this beautiful place in beautiful Washington state. So I wish you all the very best, and I'll see you at my next video, in which I'm planning to talk about my experiences with the esoteric, remote viewing, out-of-body experiences, past life, and all that sort of thing. All those experiences that I personally had, that I had actually written in my diary. So it didn't come from anybody else, it just came from me, and I'm pretty sure that you guys also had similar experiences, and I would very much like to hear about them in the comment section. Okay, all of you, have a good day and goodbye.